Welcome to another Q&A episode on the channel. I'd just like to thank everybody that did leave questions for this video. If you want to get involved for this series, then all what you need to do is leave your question in the comment section of this video, and then what we'll do is in the next video is combine the questions that I did get in the last Q&A episode, just because I will be answering questions in this video from a Q&A episode that I did upload maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago now. I did get a lot of questions on that video, so what I will be doing, hopefully before E3, I definitely will try and get another Q&A episode out before E3, and that will probably be an extra long video where I do answer as many questions as possible from this episode's comment section and the last episode's comment section as well. So yeah, if I haven't answered your question yet, then I will try and do it in the next episode. But the first question comes in from Sonic Spin-276. Could Amiibo besides the Splatoon Amiibo have unlockable costumes and maybe even weapons on them like the first game, with the unlockable hero weapons, so people who don't have the Splatoon Amiibo can still get some bonus weapons and clothes, but characters like Bowser Jr. can have the magic paintbrush, which can be a reskin of another brush, and the costume could be Bowser Jr.'s bib. And maybe with a Mario Amiibo you could get a gun version of Flood, and for a costume it can be a Mario costume replica, and maybe it could go further with non-Nintendo characters like the Sonic or Mega Man Amiibo and have unlockables for them. Even though the idea is a bit lazy and not that good, it would still be a cool concept. I don't think this is a lazy idea, and I think this is a good idea. But do I think Nintendo will do this? I don't think they will, just because I think they would want to keep Nintendo's other IPs separate from Splatoon. That is why we haven't seen like Mario Sunshine sort of stages. I know a lot of people have said, especially with the first game, that Mario Sunshine stages would work really well just because the flood is very similar to what happens in Splatoon. So there has always been that request from parts of the community to add in that sort of crossover content to the game. But on a personal level, I would rather have Nintendo and Splatoon like separate. I don't want their other IPs to merge into Splatoon. Yes, we would get some cool content out of it, but I would rather have Nintendo's other IPs and Splatoon to stay separate, and that is just what I think Nintendo want as well. They want Splatoon to stand on its own 2 feet, and it will not have any crossover content like what you did mention, like with Amiibo. You could have like a Mario costume with the Mario Amiibo. I don't think we will see any sort of crossover content anytime soon, but maybe in 2 or 3 years time, maybe with Splatoon 2 to support the game for a long period of time, maybe Nintendo will eventually do this. But I think at this moment in time, I think Nintendo will want to keep Splatoon and Nintendo's other IPs separate. So I don't think we will get that crossover content in the game. I think what we will get instead is that the Inklings will appear in other games outside of Smash and Mario Kart. That is definitely something that I think will happen with more games, and maybe with the next Smash game you will see Octolings and the Squid sisters and Off the Hook appear as well, and maybe in Mario Kart 9 you will see the Squid sisters, Off the Hook and the Octolings appear alongside the Inklings as well. So I think Inklings will appear in other games. I think Splatoon's characters will appear in other games, but I don't think the opposite will happen to Splatoon. Now, if you look in the comment section of this video, I can guarantee that there will be at least one person saying, "Oh my god, why are you talking about Splatoon 3 now?" And it's quite obvious that those people commented before they did actually watch the video, just because I'm only talking about Splatoon 3 in these Q&A episodes because I got asked a question about it. So I always struggle to title these Q&A episodes, so I probably will put Splatoon 3 in the title of this video. So I'm sure if you do look in the comments, I'm sure you're going to get some people saying, oh my god, why are you talking about Splatoon 3? And yeah, I'm only talking about Splatoon 3 because I am answering questions as part of this Q&A episode. And the next question is about Splatoon 3, and it comes in from Xzuki. Is there even going to be a Splatoon 3? I think Splatoon 3 is definitely going to happen. I think Nintendo will look at the sales of the Splatoon series so far. It has sold 10 million units in 3 years. That is, of course, including the first game. But I think Splatoon 2 will reach 10 million on its own in a few years' time. And, of course, when Nintendo does decide to make a brand new Splatoon game, then those figures will be a lot higher than the 10 million that it has currently sold so far. I think the Octo expansion will help to push Splatoon 2 sales quite a lot, especially in Japan. I can see Nintendo doing a sort of bundle where they include Splatoon 2 and the Octo expansion as one package. I can definitely see Nintendo doing that, especially in Japan, and that will help to drive system sales. But I think Splatoon 3 will definitely happen, but I don't think it will be happening anytime soon. I think it is at least 3 or 4 years away. Maybe it might not even be on the Switch. Maybe it will be on the next system instead. Maybe we will have a Splatoon 2 situation again, and Splatoon 3 will come out in the first year of the next system. Maybe that will happen, but I think Nintendo will look at the sales of the series so far, and I think that will be enough for them to want to make a Splatoon 3. So I think Splatoon 3 is definitely going to happen, but I don't think it will be happening anytime soon. Maybe we could be getting more DLC for Splatoon 2 before we do get a Splatoon 3. So that is just where I stand. I think Splatoon 3 will definitely happen, but I don't think it will happen for another 4 or 5 years. The next question of this video comes in from KoiII. Do you think in Splatoon 3 there will be an option for Inkling or Octoling when you first join? Now, it would be odd if in Splatoon 2 we have the option to play as Inkling and Octoling thanks to the Octo expansion, and in Splatoon 3 we don't have the option to play as the Octolings. I think that would be quite weird. So for that reason, I think we will have the option to play as the Inklings or the Octolings in Splatoon 3. Or maybe there could be a reason for why there could be no option to play as the Octolings in Splatoon 3. Maybe there could be a reason in terms of the story for why we couldn't have the option to play as the Octolings in Splatoon 3, but I think we will have that option. I think that will definitely happen in Splatoon 3. Now I'm going to combine the next two questions just because they are similar. The first question comes in from Fuzzy. I notice you have an obvious accent. I'm wondering where you're from. And the next question comes in from Dom the Midnight Lycanrock. Are you from Birmingham? Because Solihull is better. You are close with your guess. I am in the Midlands, but I am not in the West Midlands. I am in the East Midlands, and I am from Leicester. I am a massive Leicester City fan. So when we won the Premier League a couple of years ago, I was in dreamland. Seriously, that was just so epic to live through that time. So epic, just because I never expected to see that in my lifetime. So yeah, that was just so epic. We did a victory parade in our city. That was epic. Like 230,000 people turned out for that victory parade. Like the whole world was talking about my city at that point. Everybody was talking about Leicester City. It was just so epic. So epic to live through that time. So yeah, I am from Leicester, and that is why I do have an accent, just because us in Leicester, we don't pronounce T-E-R, we pronounce it as T-A. So we pronounce Leicester as L-E-S-T-A, and that is how you know you are from Leicester or not. So yeah, I'm from Leicester. I'm a massive Leicester City fan. I can't believe I did manage to witness my team in the Champions League as well. That was just so epic. Like that match against Seville when we beat them and got to the quarterfinals. The atmosphere in that stadium was so epic. Seriously, so epic. I can't describe it. It was just so fun to be a part of that time. I'll never forget that time period in my life. I'll never forget that until the day I die. It was just so epic. It really was. But let's just move on to the next question before I spend the next half an hour talking about like my feelings about Leicester winning the Premier League and being in the Champions League. And that question comes in from Gerardo or Gerardo Signs. Apologies if I have pronounced your name wrong, but their question is, what is the next game you are planning to talk about when there is no more DLC for Splatoon? Maybe Smash 5. Now the main focus of this channel will be on Splatoon 2, but there will be a time where there will not be that much Splatoon 2 content for me to cover. So in order for the channel to stay active and for me to keep posting videos on a regular basis, what I will be doing is posting videos on other games as well apart from Splatoon 2. Like what I said, Splatoon 2 will be the main focus of this channel, but there will be a time where Splatoon 2 news will sort of dry up a little bit. So what we'll do is cover other games that I'm interested in. So I do have plans to make videos on Smash, Pokemon, and it looks like Fortnite will be coming out for the Switch as well. So I might make a couple of videos on Fortnite as well. I'm not sure what content I will make for those games, but those are the games that I'm interested in terms of making videos for those games. But like what I said at the start, the focus of this channel will be on Splatoon 2, but like what you did mention in that question, if there is not much Splatoon 2 stuff to cover, then I will move on to those other games and of course still cover Splatoon 2 at the same time as well. Splatoon 2 will not be going anywhere from the channel, it's just that I might make other videos on other games as well, but for the time being I will be fully focused on Splatoon 2. We've got the Octo expansion coming out really soon, so of course I will be mainly focusing on Splatoon 2 for the time being, but there might come a time where I will have to focus on other games as well as Splatoon 2. So I'm really glad you asked that question, and hopefully you guys did enjoy that answer, and hopefully you can understand where I am coming from. In order for the channel to stay active, in order for me to post videos on a regular basis, then in the future I might have to make other videos outside of Splatoon 2, but those videos will go alongside my Splatoon 2 content. There will still be Splatoon 2 content from me. So let's move on to the next question, and that question comes in from Cheese Jellyfish. Do you think the Squid sisters will replace Pearl and Marina while they are in the Deep Sea Metro? Now that would make sense, seeing as Pearl and Marina, they replaced the Squid sisters whilst they were in Octo Canyon, so I guess the opposite could happen with the DLC, and you have the Squid sisters take the place of Pearl and Marina whilst they are underground and whilst they are on the Deep Sea Metro. That would definitely make sense, and when you think about it, it wouldn't make sense if Pearl and Marina continued to read out the news and to read out all of the updates whilst they are like underground. So I think it would make sense if the Squid sisters did replace Pearl and Marina whilst they are underground. Maybe the Squid sisters will only replace Pearl and Marina if you have bought the DLC, and if you haven't bought the DLC, then Pearl and Marina will still continue to read out the news. But say like if you did buy the DLC, then maybe Callie and Marie will read out the news until you do complete the DLC. Maybe that is something that could happen when the Octo expansion does go live later on this year in the summer. So let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Do you think the Squid sisters will replace Pearl and Marina whilst the Octo expansion is happening? I think that would be cool if that did happen. The next question comes in from Mina Cats, or Minor Cats, apologies if I have pronounced your name wrong, but their question is, When you complete Octo expansion and are able to play as an Octoling, will there be a feature where you can switch between an Inkling and an Octoling? I think there will be an option where you can switch between Inkling and Octoling, and I think this will be in the same place where you can change like your hair colour, eye colour and stuff like that. The next question comes in from DZ, and their question is, are you interested in getting into competitive Splatoon? To be honest with you, I just play the game to have fun, and more importantly, I'm not really that good at the game. When I do play League Battle with you guys and come up against people that are S plus and X rank, I always struggle against those people, and the same with my private battles as well. I always struggle to do well in those private battles just because you guys are so much better at the game than me. So I don't think I would be good enough for competitive Splatoon, but I will definitely watch the World Champs next week at E3. The next question comes in from Cheesy Puff Puff. Will Splatoon 3 be a prequel? Because it would be really nice to have a history of the Great Inkling War. I really like this idea. I think it would be really cool if we went back to that time and saw the Great Inkling War for ourselves and actually played our part in it. I think that would be really cool. So I would love it if Splatoon 3 was a prequel and it would go back to the Great Inkling War. I think that would be really cool. Maybe they could do that with Splatoon 3 to sort of break up, like instead of moving the story forward, then maybe they would want to have a little bit of a break from the story, and instead of it moving forward with the next game, I think it would be cool if it was a prequel. So I would totally be down with Splatoon 3 being a prequel and we played our part in the Great Inkling War. I think that would be really cool, but let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. The next question comes in from Mega Rayquaza 24. What was your favourite Splatfest in Splatoon 2? Now, I was going to say the TMNT tournament that we just had, but to be honest with you, I had a lot of connection problems in that tournament, so I am not going to say the TMNT tournament. What I will say instead is the chicken versus egg one, just because I think that question is a question that a lot of people do ask. So I think that question is a perfect Splatfest question. So I am going to say chicken versus egg was my favourite Splatfest. But I know a lot of people weren't a fan of that Splatfest topic. But for me, that is my favourite Splatfest so far. I am looking forward to seeing what Nintendo will be doing in terms of more Splatfests in the future. Let's move on to the next question, which comes in from Andres Pena Infante. Apologies if I have pronounced your name wrong, but their question is, will there be mini bosses in the Octo expansion? Now, by the time I have got round to answering this question is a little bit out of date, just because we got footage of the Octo Stomp in one of the levels in the DLC. So I'm going to change this question somewhat and still answer this question. Do I think more mini bosses will return? I think they will. I think more mini bosses from the single player will return in Octo expansion, but I don't think they will have their own sort of specific level like what they did have in the single player. What we did see with the Octo Stomp is that it was in like a Octo expansion sort of level. It wasn't in its own particular level. It was in like a usual Octo expansion level. So I think you will see challenges that do have mini bosses on there. So maybe you will see the Octo Oven from the single player, and maybe you will see the Octo Samurai as well from the single player. But instead of them being in their own sort of levels, and instead of mini bosses having their own particular level, I think mini bosses will be challenges in the Octo expansion. So mini bosses will appear in normal Octo expansion levels. It's just that those challenges will be the hard ones of the Octo expansion. They will be quite hard to complete just because you've got to complete the objective in that level, and plus you've got to get past the mini bosses as well. Do I think the mini bosses will be from the first game as well? That would be really cool if we did see some mini bosses from the first game, but I think the mini bosses will just be from Splatoon 2. Let me know your thoughts about that in the comment section below. Do you think mini bosses will have their own level? And the last question of this episode comes in from Luna the Dragon. Top 3 favourite Splatoon 1 and 2 bosses. Now I'm going to impose a rule on myself and say that I can't say the boss battle from Splatoon 1 just because that would be cheating. So out of the rest of them, I did like the Octo Nozzle, Octo Whirl and Octo Morb, but I'm not going to say them. I'm going to say the mighty Octo Stomp just because I really did like that boss battle in the second game. I'm going to say the Octo Samurai just because I really do like his character design, and I'm going to say the Octo Oven just because it's a flipping oven and they made a boss battle out of an oven, and I just think that is pretty cool. So I am going to say those 3, but I'm sure you guys have different opinions to myself. So that is going to be it for this Q&A episode. I'd just like to thank everybody that did leave their questions, and yeah, hopefully I will answer your question in the next Q&A episode, which I do hope to upload before E3. But that is it for this video, and I will see you in the next one.